Welcome back to Game Changers. My first guest today is Director Rudy Chow, who heads up the Baltimore City Department of Public Works. Thanks for being a guest on Game Changers today.
Thank you.
So you have a very important job, making sure the residents of Baltimore City have clean water, keeping a functional sewer system, but that's not all. How do you manage everything?
Well, hard work. And certainly behind me, we got about 2,800 folks that touches almost every single residence within the city, besides the water and sewer functions that we're also responsible for solid waste, as well as energy. So all the trash collections, the recycling, the operating landfills and everything, we do them all.
Yeah, and it takes tons of employees, good employees, to do that job. You know, keeping the environment clean is a top priority, obviously, right? What is it that Baltimore City residents need to know to help you all do your job better?
Sure. So when it comes to environment, and you know, if I just focusing sort of start with the water system, and we have a water system that's been in the ground for nearly 100 years. So the challenge is to how do we continue that delivery of clean water to each individual household, not only in the city, but the 5 surrounding counties, because we are a regional provider of the water. And then in the same time, how do we take away the water, the wastewater, that the water is used in the individual residents, and taking them away to a treatment plant is treated, so we can discard it back into and discharge back into the environment.
So talk about that process, you know, the treatment process. What is that like?
So, well, our raw water coming from our 3 reservoirs upstream in Baltimore County. That's our water supply. And from there, the water gets into our water treatment plants. It's go through filtration systems, go through chlorination system, ensure it meets all the EPA standards and in terms of the water quality. From there, through about 4,000 miles of pipelines that's on the ground, about 1,500 miles in the city, about 2,500 miles in the county, would deliver the water to each individual household in the city and the county.
That's a lot of mileage.
It is.
So one thing that your office is focusing on when it comes to, you know, moving Baltimore forward, moving them into the future, is a new water treatment, what we call a water billing treatment process. Talk to us about that and how it's helped so far. Sure.
So our metering system, so every resident receive a water bill from us in the past. We found ourselves, you know, when I came about 7 years ago, we found ourselves that our inability to explain the actual usages by each resident. So when residents receive a bill that is high, and they say, well, it's no way possible I could have used this much water, it's no way for us to sort of very clearly illustrate and point out how the water was consumed. So we found ourselves that we need to upgrade our system. So that's what we did. In the last about 2.5, 3 years, we've been investing quite a bit of money, millions of dollars, into replacing all of our meters, about 400,000 meters out there, about 200,000 each city in the county, to what we call AMI, is automated meter infrastructure. So that means now we can remotely read the actual usages on an hourly basis.
Very good information for all of the Baltimore City residents out there. So we're going to take a quick break, but we're going to talk more about what Department of Public Works does, because there's so many people that don't know everything that's involved with the department. So for you folks at home, stay with us. We'll be right back with Director Rudy Chow from the Department of Public Works. Stay with us. Welcome back with my guest, Director Rudy Chow from the Department of Public Works. So I want to talk about the sewer problems with Baltimore City. There was a recent sewer main clog that had some spillage into the Jones Falls, and I believe you all called it Fatberg, which is just an unbelievable blob of grease. How can something like that happen?
Well, believe it or not, most residents that we don't think about it when we finish cooking and we start washing dishes and pans and all that. You sort of run the hot water, right? So you start cleaning up your plates, but all those grease that's either on the plates or in the frying pans and all that go into the sewer system. While it's warm, it's in a liquid form. But when you go into the sewer system, as it travels miles and miles down the stream, that water temperature beginning to cool down, and the oil beginning to solidify and become blobs of grease. And that gets attached to the pipe. And over time, that layer of grease beginning to build in the sewer system. And that's how the fatberg sort of came about, as more grease got washed in, either through the restaurants and or individual households.
So what can we do to prevent something like this from happening in the future? What should people do?
So our advice is, first of all, if you're frying something, that try to discard the oil, the waste oil, into a can. A tin can that you finish using it.
Yeah.
Just pour it in there, let it cool down, then you discard with your trash.
Okay.
Rather
Sounds
than pouring
simple.
down the drain.
Yeah, sounds simple.
Right.
Or something else that your department does. You all have a youth mentoring program, which is very interesting. Maybe a lot of people might not know about that.
Yeah, so we started a couple of years ago. Is a water industry mentorship program. We partner with the Mayor's Office of Employment Development as well as the Chesapeake Water Environment, which is the Water Environment Federation, the local member agency. And so from there is we basically recognizing that many of us are at the retirement age. About 40% of my folks are eligible for retirement right now, at this minute. But at the same time, as we look behind us, we have very few folks are coming in to replacing us. And at the same time, we recognize the city has a lot of youth that are looking for good employment. And although the water industry is not something that you're going to earn a whole lot of money, but it's going to give you a nice income, a steady income. And in my mind, it's recession-proof, because whether it's recession or not, the people is going to use the water or not. So we brand it under what we call a YH2O program. This is something that we are branding across the country through the Water Environment Federation. Is other folks across the country, other utilities are looking at our model and try to mimic our success here. And in the last few years, we were able to recruit about 40 folks. And then we as a department hired about 30 of them. The other 10 went to the private industry. This is really what I call a true partnership between public and private partnership for the great success.
Yeah, and there's so many people in Baltimore that, we hear we need jobs, and your department is offering that.
That's correct.
Which is great.
Correct. Yeah.
So you all are also helping the restaurant or business industry, correct?
Well, yeah, it's what we call the Small Business Development Program. We are planning to spend about another $1.5 billion. So there's a lot of construction going on. And certainly our mayor's, one of her priority is to increase the number of minority-owned businesses and women-owned, as well as disadvantaged contractors. So through this small business development program, we're able to share how you can do work with the Public Works Department, for nothing else, with the city. Because there are unique requirements and as far as dealing with the city in terms of procurement, in terms of invoicing, all those things. For nothing else, just teach some folks that wants to get into the construction business, sharing them how this is how you do it. Partnering up with other larger vendors to create a bigger pool of contractor out there, because everything is supply and demand. We have a lot of the demand onto the system, but we don't have enough, from my mind, sufficient resources externally, i.e. contractor, to help us to meet the requirements. And so it's create that competition, the healthy competition we need to do. So we are reaching out as a department, recognizing that we are a very large economic engine behind the city, because we are spending a lot of money on the annual basis on capital dollars.
All right, and hopefully the residents can do their part too in helping to keep the environment, keep the water system clean. Well, Mr. Chow, thank you so much for being a guest on Game Changers today. Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Game Changers.